Since the beginning of Classic Sumo, Hearthstone has had these cards called Giants. Giants are these big 8/8 stat line creatures that have the ability to be reduced in cost based on their effect. Today, you're gonna rate all the Giants.
All the Giants.
I mean, all of them. Well, I think I'm showing. I think there's not that many, but there's enough.
Now, when you say rate, define rate. What are we doing here?
Where they played in a competitive deck and or where they nerfed, something along those lines. Like bad or good.
So we're just you're just making it up. You're like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you're feeling. Like, I mean, we'll change it up every card.
Got it.
Was it a giant?
You can tell the structure of these videos slowly diminishes as we do more. We're like, whatever. Like, you can just talk about it. Like, who cares? Rate it based off of, like, you know, how it would feel to take it on a date. Like, that's how these videos are.
We're vibing. Take it on a date. Would you marry this card?
I mean, it's hot. Ha,
there you go.
Molten Giant is a 20 mana 8/8 elemental that costs 1 less for each health your hero is missing. I think I remember this because this is an old card. Like, this is a very old card, right?
Yep.
I think this card is very good just because if I've learned anything from the like thousands of videos you and I've done together, mana cheating and mana reduction are both very strong, and this is very easy to achieve in multiple ways, especially if you're playing like a deck like Warlock. You can purposely put your health all the way down, and then you just get to play a bunch of big idiots, and that seems pretty good. If this is free, like your health is 10 or below, it costs 0. That seems pretty good to me. I don't know. So yeah, I think this card saw play.
Molten Giant was cracked. Very good card. Like you said, if you reduce your life total down to 10, it's very good. This was like an auto play in any slow Warlock deck because your hero power life tapped you down to basically 10 or lower. Any self-damage deck would also run this. There was just a multitude of different ways of running this card. Fun fact for you, this card was nerfed to 25 mana, and it was 25. That means you have to be a 5 or lower, and it was still playable.
I believe it. I believe it.
And that was absolutely incredible. There's also the interaction with Holy Wrath, which I've shown you before, which is a 5-mana card from Paladin that deals damage based on the cost of the card. Because when you draw the card, that's the cost. So you can do 25 to your opponent. Yeah, it's great. It was great. There was a whole other deck I think I've showed you before with Shivala that did basically the exact same thing, but this one was...
Yeah, I remember that.
This one was less consistent because there was no card to like reorder your deck. But this was it was absolute cinema.
Now, let me ask this as a player who knows nothing about Hearthstone. Not every deck was playing this card, right?
No,
like you still needed to have like the right, like, again, Warlock makes perfect sense for this, but like not every deck was playing this, even as good as it was.
I think the two notable decks, if I remember correctly, I'm sure I'm missing a couple because obviously there's been so many years, was Handlock ran this. Handlock's whole idea was to basically fill up their hand so they can play maybe a different card that you're going to see during this video. But also because you're tapping so often, you would lower your health, and then you would drop 2 0/8/8s, and then you would taunt them, and all of a sudden you have a huge, like, your opponent has a huge problem because that's such a huge tempo swing, especially back in classic Hearthstone. If your opponent didn't have a way to go over the top, the game was pretty much over. And the other way of doing it was, this wasn't as common, but Mage had the ability to get Time Warp, the equivalent of it, through a quest. You can get the extra turn, you drop a bunch of 8/8s, and then because they can
just
swing
kill
immediately. Yeah, you just kill.
Yeah,
that'd be what it would be.
Now, does Molten Giant still see play?
Molten Giant was in standard last year, I want to say. Maybe.
Okay, so it rotated out.
It might be in the game right now, but I think it was last year, and the card was good.
Really? It was still good. So it was actually aged really well. I like that.
I think it was back at, so it was nerfed to 25 during Whispers of the Old Gods because they wanted to make room for new cards to exist.
Sure, makes sense.
They unnerfed it, and then I believe they increased it to 22 during... Which was like the subtle difference of being too good to just playable. And then I think it rotated out. I don't think it's in the standard format, but last year it was played. It was absolutely.
It's just one of those things where it's like 25, that's also like a clean number. 22, like I can't imagine seeing a 20. It just seems like such a weird, it's not aesthetic. It's not an aesthetic number.
Warlock had a deck during Perils of Paradise last year, which was, not last year, the year before last year, oh my God. That was a self-damage deck. So those 2 extra mana crystals actually mattered a lot because that was the difference of it being played 1 turn earlier. And that's all that really comes down to, right? So it's like I think Hearthstone, what I love about the game is that you can kind of do that where it's like, it's just good enough where it's still playable, but it's not just absolutely garbage. And I like when they fine tune it like that, because if it went back to 25 mana, it was unplayable. But at 22, you would still maybe want to play it. And I think that's like the good baseline for a lot of these cards. But yeah, Molten Giant.
That's like in the Yu-Gi-Oh Genesis format. This is a new format that we have where every card has a point. Not every card, but a lot of cards have a point value assigned to them, and then you can only play 100 points worth of cards maximum in your deck of those types of cards. And so they do something similar where a card might be like 7 points, right? And you might think that there's a random number, but like there's actually like reasoning for that, because maybe it combos with another card that's worth like 94 points, so you can't play those two cards together, but you can still play like, you know, this card with other cards, right? So it kind of reminds me of that in a way.
So Molten Giant's actually a really interesting one, because there's very few cards that cost above 10 mana. Because Molten Giant is such a high cost card, they can manipulate the mana in such a way that like that is the percentage difference, but it doesn't work nearly as well when you have a card from like 3 mana to 4 mana, because that's such a dramatic increase. So like they only do that in very niche circumstances, where I feel like in order for like a 4 mana card to get nerfed like that, or a 3 mana card to get nerfed to 4 mana, they also have to think about the stat line, which requires more effort and it requires more time for them to test it. So they don't do it as like liberally as they would for a card like Molten Giant, which is unfortunate, because there's so many cards in this game that are like not playable, but if they had like just a subtle increase in stats,
like one difference makes them makes or breaks them, essentially.
Well, like you gave it like an additional keyword, like all of a sudden it becomes a really interesting card, which I'm a fan of, because I would rather have more playable cards and then nerf those cards if they're too strong again, to like just them sitting in your collection doing literally nothing. So it's like,
I agree, because Yu-Gi-Oh has that problem where a new set comes out, let's say 90% of the set is just like not great, and then like, you know, there's like 10% of it that's like really good. Like I would love if more of the cards, it's like, oh, these actually like have like a cool purpose, you know? Granted, our game's way older and we have an eternal format, so it's kind of harder to do that, but you know, neither here nor there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, here is your next one. By the way, all these do mana reduction, so good luck.
I'm screwed. Okay, so they're all busted then, right?
Surely,
yeah. 8 mana, 8/8 red giant. Costs 1 less for each adjacent card played while in hand. So I'm assuming if this is in your hand, any card that's to the left or right of it that gets played reduces the cost of it.
Yeah, and just to make it clear, Hearthstone, you can't change the order of your cards in hand. If this card's in the middle, you can play from the left or right side. If it's on the most left side, you can't put any cards to the left of it. You only play cards on the right.
Is there a mechanic you can like shuffle your hand? Does any card do that?
You can. There's one card that was added for Demon Hunter, and it is the most useless card I've ever seen in my life. So
great. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. So that's out. Just curious. Because I remember that with Hearthstone, but I was curious if there was like any mechanics that played around with that at all. But it seems like they'd have to be like either the card itself would have to be good and that's just thrown on there as like a bonus, or I don't even know if it would be good at all. Anyway, if you open with this card, it's really good because you get the most, because the biggest issue with this card is if you draw this late, it sucks because you can only start reducing it after it's in your hand. Where like Molten Giant is tied to your life total, right? So that makes this infinitely worse. If you open with it, it's really good because you actually get the time to be able to play the adjacent cards. You also have less cards in your hand at the beginning of the game, which means you're more likely to play a card adjacent to it. Where if the game goes on, you have more cards in your hand, it's harder to play those adjacent cards necessarily. But also, if you have more cards in hand, you could play more of those cards at a time, which then reduces this card further. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword in that respect. I don't think this was played, or if it was played, it was in a very small quantity, because I think the downside if you draw this too late, this card just does absolutely fucking nothing. I think that's a really big downside to this card. So I'm going to go unplayable or saw like playing one deck for some particular reason.
You know what? It's crazy how accurate that was, because that's literally what it is. There was like a I want to say Rogue was playing it for like basically like a couple of days because someone thought it was like really funny. Basically what
they call it adjacent Rogue.
No, I don't remember what they called it, but because Rogue's able to play so many cards in their hand,
because everything's so cheap.
Yeah, everything's so cheap. Like it's like, oh, like in theory, this card's super good, and it was to replace something else that recently got nerfed. But yeah, obviously, it was. It's not great. And
it's an interesting concept. If anything,
it is an interesting concept. I think if the hand size just from the beginning of the game was a little bit bigger, it might be good enough. But like then it comes to the conversation of like if you, or I guess if they reduce the mana cost ever so slightly to maybe 5 or 6, because like I don't think a 5-mana 8/8's that bad just for like as a vanilla creature. But then if you top deck it and you're playing it on turn 2, then there's a huge problem. Like they have to. This card is erring on the path of like probably just always needs to be a little bit weaker just so you don't get absolutely blown out, and that's usually what it ends up being. All right. Here's the next one.
Mana Giant. Also, Red Giant, very boring name. Like Molten, Mana, like red is kind of boring.
Red Giant is funny because it's a star.
Is there Blue Giant?
No, it's a
like in space, like the Red Giant.
And that set was from the Great Dark Beyond, which was a space set, so that's why it's Red Giant.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, I give him credit for flavor then. I take it back. I got baited. Is
there a Blue Giant?
Hey, that's space anyway. Mana Giant, 8 mana, 8/8 elemental. Costs 1 less for each card you've played this game that didn't start in your deck. So Mage has a fair bit of Discover, from what I recall. I remember this from the Rumble, as well as just like all these videos we've done. This one's really tricky because I feel like this one's really dependent on if we're in a meta that has a lot of cards that you can play that didn't start in your deck. Unlike the Red Giant, this is not contingent. Like if you draw it, it's always going to have its mana reduction, assuming you were already discovering stuff. Maybe it's just like a top end. Like maybe it's just, okay, I'm playing the Discover deck or something like that, and so I'm already doing this anyway. And so, because there's the quest, right, that you need to like discover, if I recall.
There is one from Uldum that is related to playing spells, and then the reward for it is generating a random card, random spell in your hand, and then if you play that, then you're chilling.
I thought the one that we did for the Rumble is like you have to discover 8 times.
Oh, but like that wasn't in standard at this time. This card is from,
got it. Okay, got it.
Yeah, sorry. This card's from 2019. Would have rotated out in 2020.
I'm just trying to figure out all the scenarios. Okay.
Sure.
Like I'm thinking if you have a high enough density of discover things and you're already going to play those cards anyway, and this is your top end of just like playing a thing. Is that enough? I think there's just like maybe better stuff even if it gets reduced, like maybe you just have a better top end that's more consistent anyway. Like you'd almost rather play something that's going to win you the game in a different way. Just like a bigger legendary or just something. Like I remember there's what's the 10 mana thing that just like recasts like everything you've played in the game or something like that?
Recast everything in this game. There is like
or maybe it's not recast, but it's like it's like an orb or something.
Yeah, the spell like recast all the spells that you played this game for every mana cost. 10. Yeah, like orb or something. I'll get the exact name, but yeah, it's 10 mana recast spell of every mana cost. I forget the exact
like
name.
I feel like I feel like that's just like a better top end than this. So like maybe there was like a Discover deck or something that like just played this to like add pressure, but I feel like you'd rather just play better top end stuff than this card. So kind of similar to the Red Giant. Like I want to say this isn't fair. Like I think it's better than the Red Giant, but I still think it only saw like a small modicum of play. I don't believe that this was like this was that good.
Okay, so in a vacuum, you're absolutely correct. But there is one card that synergizes with this at a very, very high level, which is which is Conjurer's Calling. You could read that.
Okay, 3 mana, cool art. 3 mana for a arcane spell, twin spell, destroy a minion. Oh, didn't I think twin spell is the most broken mechanic, by the way?
You did.
I did. Well, that's why, here we go. It's coming up. Twin spell, destroy a minion, summon 2 copies of that same cost to replace it. Oh, cute. So you could play the thing for cheap, Conjurer's Calling, and you get giant things because it goes based off the original cost.
Yes, it does. Exactly.
I get it.
Exactly.
Very cute.
That was like the big, like, let me play a nice little tempo deck for you. Let me drop that right at the end, and then that's gonna.
And that was good.
That was good. That was good.
Okay.
That wouldn't call this giant.
It doesn't seem like it would be enough. It just doesn't. To me, it doesn't seem like it'd be enough. But okay, sure.
The average, like this, often comes down to what the average 8 cost is during that time, and the average 8 cost is pretty decent during this era, 2019 Hearthstone.
Gotcha.
Like you're happy with it. Now I wouldn't call like I'm not here to tell you that Mana Giant is the most broken card of all time, because Conjurer's Calling is like the real like, let me hold this guy up. Like I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. But Mana Giant was played. Like it was absolutely played with Conjurer's Calling. It was a good enough way of winning the game. All right.
Cool combo. Cool combo.
Very cool combo.
I feel like Conjurer's Calling just by itself is just
Broken
like
card.
a good card. Like,
Broken
I feel like
card.
there's so many cool things like you could do with that.
It was a very, very broken card. Like, it was very good.
I can see why. Azerite Giant. Another 8 mana 8/8 elemental. Costs 1 less for each turn in a row you've played an elemental. So I don't like this right off the bat because you only, if I understand this correctly, you only get 1 reduction per turn, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a huge downside because the other ones, even the shitty red giant, at least you can like guarantee, like if you want to just keep reducing, you can keep reducing in the same turn. Where this is like you have to each turn summon an elemental and then drop this. So like in a perfect world, right? Turn 1, you play an elemental. Turn 2, you play an elemental. Turn 3, you play an elemental. Turn 4, you play one. So the earliest you could play this is turn 5 for 4 mana. And like, okay, whatever. But you could keep going. And if you get to turn 8, that's assuming you've played an elemental every single turn to get this guy to cost. I'm not seeing it. That seems like a huge ask.
Okay.
That seems like a huge
What if I
ask.
show you this card?
What the hell is this? Skarr the Catastrophe. 7 mana, 7/7 elemental. Battle cry, deal 1 damage to all enemies. Improved by each turn in a row you've played an elemental. But like, this card's good. Like, I feel like you could just play Skarr and not play the other guy. Like, okay. I get it. Like, you're already playing, like, okay, if you're trying to play Skarr, then you're already doing that thing anyway. When it says improved by each turn, does it just go up by 1? I'm assuming.
Yeah, 1 damage. Yeah, 1 damage.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So if you're playing this little mini game anyway, this is like a big payoff. Otherwise you're just getting like, okay, so like what's the dream scenario here? You get to turn 7 or you get to 7 mana crystals. You drop this, or maybe turn 8. You drop this and drop like 2 Azerite Giants after the fact because they cost 0. And then like you have 16, 23 worth of stats. Okay. Like, whatever. I guess I'd rather just play Skarr and nothing else. So I don't think you've convinced me. I still think it's bad.
Okay, I would say it's pretty on par with Red Giant, where like Azerite Giant was seeing a little bit of play in this particular deck because it was like a tempo swing to do, right?
It already like fits. I get it.
It fits. Yeah. It fits the mold, and then often it's just like you just want to have as much redundancy for elementals as humanly possible because like you want.
Sure.
If Skarr's your payoff and you miss an elemental 1 turn, like your deck's doing literally nothing. Like you need to have this.
Right.
So often what would end up being the case is like you'd get Skarr, you'd bounce it back to your hand so that it would continue having the elemental chain, and then you would drop it again. The nice thing is that because Skarr counts as the elemental being played, like it keeps the chain if you bounce it back, so you don't have to play another elemental with it.
Right.
But yeah, Azure Giant was just like one of those cards that if you needed more elemental redundancy, you would put it in. But for the most part, it's like, yeah, that is.
I guess it's interesting because like for Skarr, it could curve you out to make sure you keep the chain going.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like if you were to miss, Azerite Giant would be reduced by turn 4, 5, 6. So they can kind of fill that gap. But even then, I don't know. I think was this deck actually like decent, or was it kind of just like, one off?
Skarr actually was like Elemental Shaman as much
Skarr
as
seems fine. Skarr seems fine.
As much as Elemental Shaman is like kind of a boring deck because like you're just kind of playing elementals on curve, it was fine. It was actually pretty decent. Like Skarr is a good card.
Yeah.
And if you bounced it back up, like it's really good. Like I won a lot of games just by spamming Skarr and bouncing it back and winning.
Right, because they lose their board over and over again. Yeah,
exactly. All right.
So this is Storm Giant. This is an 8 mana 8/8 typical with taunt, and so Forge costs 2 less and then can be forged endlessly. So you said you can hover it over your deck for 2 mana.
Yeah, I'll give you like another Forge card just so you have like more of an understanding, because this one, I guess it's not like the perfect example of it.
This is kind of like an extreme of it.
This is like the so I'll show you Bellowing Flames. I'll just explain what it does. So Bellowing Flames is a 3-mana card that deals 5 damage to a minion. If I hover it over my deck and I forge it for 2 mana, that means it transforms into the the Forge version, which now it does 5 damage to a minion, and then deals 5 damage split among all the remaining minions, or the remaining minions' health. But I have to preemptively basically invest 2 mana into it in order for it to actually have the additional Forge effect. Storm Giant.
It's like it's almost like you're giving it an extra cost to get some benefit out of it.
You're putting the cost preemptively into it. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So
what is it in Magic? Kicker? It's kind of like Kicker.
Yeah, Kicker's a great example of it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. In this case for Storm Giant, you can hover it over your deck and forge it, and then it'd be 6 mana. But
Right. Unlike, so you're putting 2 mana into it to make it so that it's like if you have 2 excess mana, you're reducing the cost of this so that later you don't have to pay for it, essentially.
Exactly.
Right.
There you go.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So anytime you're just not doing... So the problem is with this is that if you're using 2 mana to forge this, that's 2 mana you're not using to build out your board, to maintain tempo, to remove your opponent's things, to build, like to just do a myriad of different things. It's like if you have 2 excess mana at the end of your turn, then it's like, okay, you may as well just invest it into the Storm Giant. It becomes cheaper so that maybe later on you can just drop it for free. I feel like, okay, in a world where you're going to make this cost 0 or 2 even, that means you didn't use 6 mana crystals over the course of like however many turns. In the early game, I feel like that is very bad because I feel like unless you're playing some really slow-ass control deck that you're stalling the game out that you can afford to just give up 6 mana, essentially, to like throw it into this, I feel like a lot of decks don't want to be doing that. But then it's like, again, if you're slowing the game out enough that it's like, okay, cool, just drop all these giant things, and then... like, that's kind of cool. That still seems like a tough sell. It has Taunt, I guess. That's like something. So again, for like the slow game plan, at least then like you're surviving.
This is a very interesting one. This is like
this is an interesting one. Yeah, this I think is the most interesting one you've showed me so far. I'm really, yeah, it's so weird because like obviously Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have mana, right? So it's hard to think that you're like investing into a card to like see the payoff later on. But God, like 6 or 8 mana of doing nothing over the course of like several turns, that seems so bad. And you have to wait until at least turn 2 to do it, because it's not like you can just do it turn 1. That's like you giving up if you're playing like, this seems like a warrior card to me. It's like, that's 4 hero powers you're giving up to do this.
Yes.
Maybe there's... I'm not seeing this as like a meta warping threat or anything, but maybe there was like a deck that played this, but I don't see like, I feel like it's very, very niche in terms of like, cause you need to have like the right deck for this. Like, and it's gotta be like exact. Otherwise I feel like this card's just not it. So that's where I'm going to evaluate this one.
Okay. So Storm Giant's really interesting because it did see some play. You're basically following the exact line of like, why am I spending 2 mana on this over and over again when I can do literally anything else? Right. Often what it comes down to is, could I be doing anything better than playing a Storm Giant? Now, I will say that having a 0 mana taunt 8/8 is actually pretty decent because there are effects like evolving and all that stuff. But yeah, for the most part here, it was not very playable.
What's like the best Forge card, unless you don't want to show me for another video?
Best Forge card is a tough question because they all do their own thing. I
was curious if there was like a Forge card that everyone's like, oh man, that was like, that was it.
I would say that the best Forge card is the card that doesn't have Forge on it, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I won't.
Okay.
You could read that and you'll understand.
Yeah. Ignis, the Eternal Flames of 4 mana, 2/4. Battle Cry. If you forged a card this game, craft a custom weapon. I get it. Okay.
So,
sure.
Like, decks would run Forge cards because Ignis's weapon would be so good that you would just want it. Like, I think when it comes to...
It's kind of sad, though, right? It's kind of sad that it's like the Forge cards themselves aren't good, but like this card's crazy.
Ignis is very good. I think Warrior got the 2 best Forge cards. I think Bellowing Flames might be the best one. There's also...
Flame seems good. Yeah.
There's also this one. This one's probably the best one. If you like force me to pick an actual card, this is probably the one I would pick.
It's funny, it's also a warrior card. Sanitize, deal damage equal to your armor to all minions. Forge, gain 3 armor first. Yeah, that seems really good.
Like that card was, I think that card was nerfed to, I want to say 6 mana. And it was still played.
Wow.
At 4, it was so stupid. Like, holy man.
For context, I can't really think of like many Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are like, do a thing, and then if you discard a card or like pay life points or whatever, you get to do like an extra thing. Like, I think if there was an archetype that had that would be like a really cool design space.
Surprised they haven't.
I could be wrong. I might be like forgetting something, but I can't like off the top of my head think if there's a deck that does that. But
because like in Hearthstone,
I don't think so.
Hearthstone, like, it's not even just the Forge mechanic in general. Like, we've had cards that say, if you've taken damage this turn, do this additional effect. Or if you, I don't know, like if you discarded a card this turn, do this effect. There's like a lot of synergies built into like the cards that they, well, I want to say, no, I'm not going to say all the cards, but some cards, right?
Yeah, no, like, and maybe the comments can help me out here, but like, I'm really trying to think if there's like a deck that's like, it does X thing, But then I can think of maybe like a couple individual cards that sort of do that, but I can't think of like a whole archetype where it's like they do X thing, but then if some condition got met or like you have to pay some additional cost, it gets like an extra thing. It's like, I don't think there's like many things that do that as far as I know, but a design space, I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh's too far gone to probably do. Those cards are probably suck. Anyway, Sea Giant, 10 mana, 8/8. Costs 1 less for each other minion on the battlefield. Does that count your opponents? I think it would.
Yes,
Ooh, very good. I think that's good then. I think this saw play. I think this saw a lot of play, actually, if that's the case. If it was just your own minions, I think it would not be as good. But the fact that it's your opponents too, that's really cool. Like, I like the fact that if you're behind, like, let's say your opponent swarms the board, like they're playing an aggro deck, and 7's the max, right? So, like, this could be a 3 mana 8/8, you know, if they're playing like a bunch of like 1/1s or whatever. But if you're playing a bunch of guys, then you can also play this. So I like that there's like this, it can be an aggressive card, but it can also be like a defensive card in a way too. Like, I really like the design of that. That's really nice.
This one is with Multi-Giant and Classic, and I think you really hit the nail on the head here. This card was one of the best ones to play with. I think there's like looking back on Classic, I really like the fact that they thought about, you know, how does this interact for you as a player, but also against your opponent. And Sea Giant is interchangeable of like, hey, do I want this in my aggro deck because I'm going to be flooding the board anyways, or do I put this in the deck to make sure that I have an 8/8 on board for free when my opponent floods the board? And like
no, I love that.
That philosophy carried it throughout its entire time in Standard. Like, I'm talking like the 10 year, or it's not 10 years. I want to say like 8. It was in Standard. Like, it was always that one of those cards that you could look at and be like, okay, my opponents are flooding the board. I'm just going to drop a surprise 8/8 on them. And if that works, there's also other ways of interacting with it, which is nice. Like, you get to evolve with it, or you get to get something that's more impactful than just an 8/8 from like just a stat line perspective. Because obviously, as card games get older, stats don't do enough. But Sea Giant, excellent. I wouldn't say it's like the best Giant by far, but it was like in the same cadence of like Molten Giant. Molten Giant's probably better, but it was.
Do you think this was used more offensively or defensively?
Offensively. I think there's like,
so it was more aggro than defense. Sure. So granted, you guys don't have like, it doesn't have taunt, so like it's kind of hard to use it defensively. Yeah.
The argument against it of using defensively is that if you queue up against the deck that is not playing for board, you just have a 10 mana 8 in your like hand, and that sounds awful. So like, you kind of needed it to be I'm going to call it a tech card, but it's not like really a tech card. You're just getting like mana reduction. But if that makes sense, though. If you're playing a deck that floods the board, like, this is an easy include. So like, you'd rather be proactive than reactive, like we just talked about like in the video you recorded.
If you're playing control, like this card, or against control, like this card sucks because they're probably playing like a guy a turn, if that. You know?
Exactly.
So then he's just rotting. Yeah.
You don't want to just put Sea Giant into a deck that just because your opponent would be flooding the board, you also want to have a board center deck as your own, just so it doesn't just sit there doing nothing. But in those particular like mid-range style decks or just aggro, like it could be a very, very good card.
Yu-Gi-Oh has a few cards, not like you can't really use it defensively, but like it comes to mind where it's like if you control like 2 guys that are like of like the archetype you're playing, you get to special summon this guy to get like even more pressure. For people, I'm thinking of like X-Saber Fall Troll, for instance. Like there's several cards that are like steamrolly where it's, or snowbally rather, where it's like, oh, you're already playing aggro, here's more aggro, right? And so that's what it reminds me of. Cool card. Snowfury Giant, 11. God, the fucking 11, whatever. All right, 11 mana, 8. This just like triggers me for some reason. It's just like, it should be a 0 or like a 5. I don't know. 11 mana, 8/8. Cost 1 less for each, elemental. Cost 1 less for each mana crystal you've overloaded this game. Okay, Shaman card makes sense. You're playing Shaman, so it's not difficult for you to overload yourself. There's plenty of overload cards to be able to do that, I imagine. So in an interesting way, this is kind of like forging, right? Because it's like you can't use those crystals anyway. So if you're constantly doing that, then
overload cards are usually pretty this is going to be
overloaded.
Overloaded, yeah, that's literally what I was going to say. So often if you're playing an overload card, the reason why your mana is locked the following turn is because you're playing a above rate card for its mana cost.
Right, exactly. I also, with the Giant with Forge, though, I completely forgot the fact you need to have this card in your hand. So if you draw that card late, that card's ass. because you didn't get the chance to reduce it prior.
I will say this: if you're drawing it late and you have nothing else to do, all of a sudden you could forge it multiple
I guess you could just
turn.
I was about to say, I guess you could just dump 8 mana into forging it. In my mind, I'm thinking you can only do that once a turn, but you could just forge, and now all of a sudden it's cheap. So I guess, okay, it's not as bad, but it's still not great. If that's all you're doing, like to play whatever. So, okay. So similar concept, but just executed differently because it's also a shaman card. You're playing these above rate cards, which if you're playing shaman, you might just be playing the overloaded cards anyway. So then it's like, okay, you're already playing the card. So here's like a payoff for doing so. I guess it just depends if you see the overloaded cards early enough or they're cheap enough, which they probably are, if I had to guess. Any of the ones that have the reduction that's like it's permanently built in. So even if you draw this card later, if you overloaded a bunch, it's going to cost 0. So then you just get a big guy. It's just like, is it enough? I guess is the question. I guess if you're overloading yourself anyway, like it's probably a fine top end. It's kind of the question of it's fighting for space with like other stuff you would play in its place, essentially.
Okay, I will say that it's from 2017 Hearthstone, if that helps you at all.
So it's definitely an older card.
It's an older
in that
card.
Case. You know what? Sure. I'll say this guy got played.
It's trash.
Well, it's okay. I've been pretty good for most of these. I was bound to get one wrong eventually.
This one's really interesting because the biggest problem with overloading though is that you have to think like the follow turn is like you're not really playing anything for the most part. Especially obviously you don't know this, but that's half the fun. A lot of the cards they would do for overloading were like really overloading you on your next turn. So
so it's not like one. It's like you're skipping your turn type of thing.
Yeah, like if you're playing like. There's some cards that are fine. Like Lightning Storm was good because it was like a board clear, but yeah, you're still overloading by 2. And then with like Lightning Bolt, you're doing 3 damage, but you're overloaded 1, which is fine. But like again, like you're not really reducing this by that much. And the cards that do have a lot of overloading, like you're skipping your turn. So the problem ends up being is like this just never gets cheap enough that you really want to play it. And then at that point, it's like, why am I running this card if I could just do something else? I would say like
I guess that's a problem, right? Because if you're overloaded, you can't play more overload cards to keep reducing. Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Especially in the early days of Shaman, they really did not know how to handle overload to the best of their abilities. So
I guess I gave him too much credit.
I mean that's fair. That's fair. All right.
I was also thinking in my mind, there's like broken cards that are like, oh, just unlock all of your overloaded mana crystals and then you can just go again type of thing. And maybe that does exist.
It's funny because that card actually ended up being played or like being made. I want to say that was from maybe 2017, maybe 2016. I don't remember exactly. But again,
still
it's
not
like,
good.
Why would I run the Giant when I could play a really good overload card and then play a better card the following turn?
And play the game. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Urzul Giant?
That sounds right.
Okay. 13, not that I should be asking you that, but anyway. 13 mana for an 8/8, continuing to trigger me with the costs here. Cost 1 less, this is a demon, by the way. Cost 1 less for each friendly minion that died this game. Ooh, that's fun. I like that.
This is for Demon Hunter. I'd be very curious to see if you get this correct.
Okay. Died means, just to clarify, it does have to go from the board to the. You don't have a graveyard. It's like the fucking ether. So it has to go from the board to the ether, right?
Yes, it has to be on board and die. Yeah, it can't go from your deck to the like discarding or whatever. It has to be on board.
Right, because like in Yu-Gi-Oh, you can like destroy a card in your hand, and that counts as like destroying for some trigger effects, for instance. So. That's why I was just like clarifying that. So I wasn't sure if you could, I wasn't sure if a minion could die from hand, if that makes sense.
I don't think so.
But that would just count as it being discarded, right?
That's an interesting question. There's a card called Munis that eats a card in your opponent's hand and gains its stats, but you can't resurrect it after it's been eaten. So no, it would not count as dying. I don't know. It has to be on board.
Yeah. No, semantics in card games matter, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Demon Hunter's tough because I feel like I just have like the least experience with this entire, like this in Death Knight. Well, actually, I feel like I have more experience with Death Knight because of the Rumble, because we played it the whole time.
Yeah.
So I feel like Demon Hunter is like kind of my blind spot, and I usually feel it's this in Paladin. I feel like I always get the cards wrong. Instinctually, like I want to say this is good because combat's important in Hearthstone. Stuff dies very often. It's not hard for you to like also purposely destroy your own stuff, whether it's crashing into your opponent's thing, whether it's like there's effects that like kill, like the the duplicating thing, right? Where it's like you kill something and like make copies of it. Like you have ways to purposely kill your own things. 13 mana is like the red flag here, because like that seems like a very specific number that they picked it for a reason. I feel like it's like if it was 10 or 8, it would probably be really fucking good and maybe too good, and maybe this got nerfed and that's why it's a 13.
Okay.
Let me ask this. I know Demon Hunter is really good at like drawing cards, I remember. Does Demon Hunter like have the tools to proactively like kill its own stuff? Or is that not really something it does?
They do have ways, like, yeah, they have ways to kill their own stuff. You know what? I'll give you a card here that might change your opinion.
Sure. Okay. Laying the breadcrumb trail. I got it. Because I know like Warlock has tons of stuff that's like kill your own stuff, get some benefit, right? That's like kind of what I'm asking here.
Here, I'm going to give you, I think the cards that you're looking for is not what I'm going to provide you. I'm going to provide you something a little different. There's I'll give you that card, for example.
Expendable Performers. Summon 7/1/1 Illidari, whatever that is, with Rush. If they all die this turn, summon 7. Okay, sure. This is kind of like what I was asking for in a way.
So there's that card, which that came out. So yeah, okay, that's fine. They're the same standard. And then there's cards like this. This was just like a base card for Demon.
Sure. 3 mana, summon 3 guys with Rush. Okay. So you've got ways to get a bunch of these tokens, if you will, these count as things that would go towards the giant. Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Got it. Okay. Because like I'm thinking of some cards that would be like, oh, if you have this many like creatures in your graveyard, it reduces the cost, right? So like that's why I want to make sure that counts, because like tokens wouldn't count towards that because they're not in the graveyard. Man, the 13, that's just like what's throwing me. It's like I feel like this is like one of those cards where it's like it's teetering on like it'd be really good if it's cheap enough, but it's like 13. They're like, oh, this is the sweet spot where this is like just on the edge of being playable, like we were talking about before.
Yeah, this is like that number is very important here.
I want to say it's not enough. I want to say that 13 is just like on the edge. I feel like maybe if it was like 10, it would be like really, really good. I'm going to say because it's 13, it's not playable.
You know what's crazy is this card was not playable for probably that exact reason. That card is like on the verge of being so good, but you're right. Like this is one of those few cards where they kind of, when Demon Hunter was first released, they kind of went in 3 different directions. And one of them was this like token based fight the board and then drop this huge giant in play. And there's another card that is, well, as it sits in your hand, for every minion that dies, it summons 2 creatures, and based on how many creatures died while it was in your hand, it summons larger monsters. Like it kind of has these weird like synergies, but both of those in this archetype were unplayable. Like they were
okay.
The thing is, I don't know if this is just because it's just Demon Hunter, but why would I play this when I could just kill my opponent? Like, you know what?
Sure,
like,
right.
What am I playing an 8/8 for when I just kill them from hand and I just move on to the very next game? So a lot of this comes down to like, is Demon Hunter just a way, but like, is this just the worst thing Demon Hunter could do? Yes. It just never saw play. Even like, I want to say even at 10 mana, it begs the question of like, is this playable? Because the problem is, you need minions to play and die. That means that in order for this to be playable, you need to trade off minions in order for this to get discounted. But again, why am I trading when I hit them in the face and kill them? So there just seems to be like a huge issue with this giant in general. If I discover it in the game and it's reduced, hell yeah, bro. Like I'm all about it.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like if this was in a different class, it would be more playable?
That's a great question. Maybe Paladin, because Paladin has a lot of tokens. Maybe Druid. Right. Like, I feel like if you gave this to the neutral pool, it might, there obviously things get opened up because
Paladin, of course.
Paladin's for, like, I think Paladin has the best chance of playing it because Paladin, actually, I mean, maybe Druid, but Paladin has a lot of board synergistic stuff. So you want stuff on board, and then that way, like, if it so happens you get cleared because you don't have that over the top damage, then you drop like the 8/8s. But then, you know, you look at Sea Giant versus the Urzul Giant, and again, it's like my minions stay alive and I drop an 8/8.
Yeah.
So it's like, is that really worth it? It's such a weird, like, even with expendable performers, you're like, oh my God, like this shit's about to go crazy. But then,
yeah.
And then it never
the dream.
It never, I don't think I saw it getting played once. But again, like Demon Hunter was just doing way better stuff. So
sure,
there's not really a reason for it.
Stitch Giant. Hey, Death Knight card. 9 mana, 8/8 undead. Costs 1 less for each corpse you've spent this game. I actually know what that means. Which is very rare for this game. So I'm going to go with the fact that I know some cards that expend corpses are good, and you're going to play them anyway. So, like, would you just play this as well? It is dependent on playing Okay, now let me ask this question. Since I don't know if we got the full spectrum of Death Knight, because there's the 3 systems, right? It's Unholy, Blood, and Frost, right? Yep. Does all 3 use corpses? I guess this might be a dumb question.
That is a great question. I would say that some use corpses more than others, but all of them use corpses in their own way.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I will also say that there is a real deck called Rainbow, which is 1 Unholy, 1 Frost, 1 Blood. So, like, they're because they've made it a lot easier to deck build with Death Knight, there is a lot more like variants of it, and Rainbow became a lot more popular because of that reason.
I just like that it's called Rainbow Death Knight. That's just like, it's such like a like an oxymoron. It sounds so funny. Anyway.
That is the archetype name, which is funny. It is very funny.
Rainbow Death Knight. I'm sure there's memes of it too. I'm sure there's memes. You're going to be playing cards that already expend corpses regardless. I guess the question is, do you just want an additional payoff by doing so? This doesn't expend corpses, which is good, because you want to keep the corpses for the good cards, because I'm not going to spend corpses just to get a big fucker like this. I want to say this wasn't good enough, and my reasoning is, from my experience, the cards that used corpses were pretty reactive. Like, I'm thinking there's the board wipe that used corpses. I'm thinking there's the weapon that used corpses. Like, typically, we're saving the cards that spend corpses. There's the one guy that spends like all of your corpses to do like the crazy shit. It was some legendary, I think. You're like typically saving the corpses for very specific moments to like when you need to wipe the board, when you need to get a big guy off the board. Like you're using it very reactively. So unless there's like an aggro Death Knight deck that is actively spending corpses, and this is like kind of like your Sea Giant for Death Knight, I want to say this card did not see play, except in that exact instance of a deck. But I just don't know if that exists. So that, I hope, is my answer.
Okay, so I will say for when Death Knight came out, there was Unholy was very, very catered towards building a board and killing your opponent through like board pressure. They had a really good payoff, which I don't remember his name, but he's no longer in standard. He was a very good card. And this card was not really played in that deck at all. But Stitch Giant currently is in one of the best decks in the entire game.
Wow, really?
I want to call it, like, what is it? It is in Control Death Knight. So I think you were talking about this card, which is Exarch Malardar, which the next card you play for this turn costs corpses instead of mana. That card's pretty good.
I don't remember, but maybe.
Okay, so that card's insane.
But that's insane. Yeah, that card's really good.
It's just strictly mana cheating, and because again Stitch Giant is allowed to be played in a 2 blood deck, it makes it a lot easier to get this card in play. Like you said, you remember Corpse Explosion, which is great. There's also this card was added, I believe, in the set we did the Rumble. I could be wrong. Yeah, it was. Which is
yeah, Reanimated Pterodax. This card is crazy good.
So, and like all of a sudden, what ends up happening is, especially with Exarch, like, you clear the board and you're dropping the 8/8s. And like, that's the big tempo swing that you want. And it's funny because like, that's exactly what Urzul Giant wants to do. It's like you trade your minions in and then you actually drop the 0 mana 8/8. But this one makes so much more sense because you're playing a slow deck and now you swap tempo. So now your opponent's behind. There's other cards that spend corpses very generously. And it's very easy to get corpses because of just all the cards they have available for them. But yeah, this card ended up being a lot better, especially after the rune change. So yeah, this card's very, very good.
That's fine. I think my biggest blind spot here was the fact that my experience with the corpse cards was that, like I said, we use them very reactively. But remembering Pterodax existed, that was a very aggressive card. And then the Exarch Maladar or whatever. Yeah, like I can see the vision here now for sure. Makes sense.
Okay, I got 3 more to show you. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. This one's so funny.
Naga Giant, 20 mana, 8/8. At least they fixed the fucking mana on this. Costs 1 less for each mana you've spent on spells this game. Like it already, as you know, I'm the mage stan, as everyone knows. But was it good enough? Was it good enough? If you're playing like a spell mage and you've got a couple of these in there, seems pretty good. You just get some free guys. 1 less for each spell you've cast. So Oh, mana you've spent. Okay, so I gotta do math now. If you cast a spell for the first 4 turns, this comes down to 10. If you cast on 5, that's 15. So then this is a 5 mana 8/8. And then if you cast a spell every turn for the first 6 turns, this becomes a 0 mana 8/8. Is that just good enough for like a mage top end? Or like any sort of spells? Like maybe like a priest. Like priest could play a lot of spells too. I'm just trying to think of like the other spell decks.
Yeah,
like mage is just the one that comes to mind.
Take your time. Don't even worry about it.
Why are you chuckling over there? Why are you laughing so hard?
I'm gonna blow your fucking mind with this. This one is so funny.
It's just like the thing of like, is the payoff really there? Like if I'm playing mage and I'm playing all these spells, like would I rather just play like the orb, right, than play this? Oh god, this one's tough. This one's tough. I feel like it could be really good, but I also feel like it could be straight ass too. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say, like, I think there's maybe a gimmick deck with it, but I can't. And I just feel like there's better top end stuff than just playing this. So, okay, what do you got?
All right, this card got another card nerfed, but even after that nerf, this card was still played. And the thing is, this card is not played for the reason that you think it is. Reminder, when this card is in your deck, it costs 20 mana no matter what.
Right.
Currently in the game, Molten Giant is not there. This card, which came out, Voyage into the Sunken Sea. I believe it came out at the end of the year in a mini set. Very last expansion of the year. There's this card right here.
Pendant of Earth. Discover a minion from your deck, gain armor acute. Okay, I see. So I get it. Okay.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, it's like if you don't draw a Naga Giant during the game, not only is it getting discounted, but all of a sudden you get 3 mana to gain 20 armor, which is
you get like a second life essentially.
You get a second life, but then you can do it again.
Because it's 2 copies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's 2 pendants in the game. This card had to get nerfed pendant got nerfed because that interaction was so fucking stupid. Like it was so stupid. Like you would think, oh, I'm winning the game. No, you're not. Like it's over. So what they decided to do was they decided to make this into you gain health, which still ended up being pretty fucking good because
it's like Reno at that point. Are you playing a deck that's like only plays the Naga Giant, so you always hit with Pendant of Earth, or are you playing like a super small amount of minions?
I think there was just a small density of minions because you still have to win the game.
Exactly. Right. I was like, how do you, like, if you're playing for this, like, how do you win, essentially?
But the thing is like 20 armor is such an absurd number to get. Like, such an absurd number to get. And it's better in Druid because Druid had the way to ramp, so you're getting to the point where like you actually get to start spending a lot of your mana on bigger cards.
Sure. So it's kind of like you're giving yourself like crazy inevitability, essentially.
Yeah, it was so funny. Yeah, they nerfed that pretty fast. I think they really they did not think that through when it was released, which is fine because it was just like immediate people were started doing it. You're like, holy fuck, of course Druid.
Or maybe they just didn't think like it was like going to be played like that much. Like maybe they're just like, whatever.
You're giving them too much credit again. There's no way they thought about it. There's no way they thought about it. All right, here's the next one.
Was it like a day one, like hour one nerf?
No. It was there for, I want to say it was there for like 2 weeks at least, because like usually that's the cadence of when they do patches.
Got it.
I will double check, but I think it was like 2 weeks. But yeah, here's the next one.
Sure. Anyway, this is Seaside Giant, 10 mana, 8/8. Good round number. Costs 2 less for each time you've used a location this game. Okay. I remember locations. You just play them. Do you always get 3 uses out of a location, or does it depend on the card?
It depends on the card.
Okay, because I think the ones we were using were always like 3. I believe.
Just to make, I think this like I'm not gonna obviously for the Overlord one I didn't show you. I will show you the main location that you would probably want to use this for.
Okay.
Or the 2, I should say.
You're so nice.
You're so welcome. Let me find it. Hold on. Let me look up.
It'll just make it that much funnier when I get them wrong.
No. You got it. I believe in you.
All right, we got Horizon's Edge, 4 mana for a 5-use location. Deal 3 damage randomly split among all enemies. After a friendly minion dies, reopen this. Ultralisk Cavern is 3 mana for 3 uses. Deal 1 damage to all enemies. Death Rattle summon an 8/8 Ultralisk with Rush. And Spawning Pool is a 2 mana, 2-use. Get a 1/1 Zergling. Death Rattle your Zerg minions have Rush this turn. So definitely plenty of ways to trigger this. And it costs 2 less.
Yeah, 2. I will say Spawning Pools was 1 mana during this time.
At the time?
During the time.
Got it. Okay.
They had to nerf the Storecraft shit because people were so tired of playing against it. Like,
So StarCraft was your Final Fantasy for Magic, seems like.
Oh yeah. It's still the Final Fantasy for Magic. Like, holy, like, it's funny. It's like a Phoenix. You nerf, what's the first class? Oh my God. There's Protoss, Zerg, and why do I not remember the other one? Terran. It was like Zerg Giga broken, nerf that shit. Terran takes the reign. Nerf
That's
Terran,
funny.
Protoss takes the fucking reign. Like, it's just inevitable. Like, it's still here.
So it seems pretty easy to get a cheap location out and just immediately, like spawning pool you said was 1 mana. So you could easily go just 1 mana, activate it again on turn 2. And this is already down to 6 mana. The Ultralisk Cavern, kind of the same thing. You can put it down on 3, immediately play it, use it over the course of a couple turns. That's 3 uses. So then you're down to a 4 mana 8/8. And then Horizon's Edge, kind of the same thing. And there's also a couple, I think there was one we played in Mage that like kept reopening after we like discovered stuff.
Yep, 3 mana one, yep.
Yeah, like that one was pretty good too. So like, I'm familiar with some of these. I think this saw play. I think there's like enough of whether it's like reopening the portal or it's like you're going to play it super early enough anyway, that if you're playing locations, I think it's dependent on if the locations are good enough that you could like, again, with like the Zerg one, right? You go, okay, wait, question that I may not actually know the answer to. Yep. Can you play 2 spawning pools at the same time or can you only have one? Oh, you can. So yeah, so that's even better, right? Because you can go turn 1 spawning pool, trigger it, turn 2 spawning pool, trigger both. That's 3 uses. The Giant's down to a 4 mana 8/8. Like that seems insane. So yeah, I think this saw play.
So when this card was first released, like the StarCraft set wasn't in the game, and this card was not playable at all. Like it was really bad.
Okay.
You're exactly correct. Once spawning pool was added to the game and Ultralisk Cavern was also added to the game, all of a sudden you have really good locations that you want to consistently activate. And because of how good Zergling were, it turns out other stuff interacted very positively with Giants, and like therefore you got it down very easily, and they ended up nerfing it.
Yeah, it just seems like a Sea Giant. Well, it is a Seaside Giant, which is fitting. It just seemed like Sea Giant 2.0 for like these types of archetypes. Yeah. Flesh Giant, 10 mana 8/8 undead. Costs 1 less for each time your hero's health changed during your turns. Costs 1 less for each time your hero's health changed. So that means either going up or down.
Up or down. Yep.
Yeah. Just an interestingly worded card. I don't think I've seen anything like this before. And maybe there is nothing else like it. So maybe that's
it might be the only one. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense that it's a Priest Warlock card in that sense, because obviously, you know, Priest can heal itself, Warlock can hurt itself.
I believe this is the first time they did dual class cards in the set, so that's why it was okay. Very thematic.
Now, it isn't based on how much, it's just if you do it, it goes down by 1. So I'm thinking if you're Warlock, because it's easier to do this as Warlock than Priest, because Priest, you'd have to hurt yourself to do this. So like if you go tap on 2, this goes down to a 9. And if you're tapping like every turn, like 3, 4, 5, that's assuming you're doing that, then the reduction is pretty slow. But there could be like a thing that's, and I'm just making this up, there could be a thing that's like Battle Cry, deal 3 damage to like yourself, and then like Death Rattle, gain 3 health or something like that. So that could be like 2 triggers on this potentially. Or there's like other cards that work similarly to that. Oh, what an interesting card. I think you saved the best for last. I'm going to be honest with you.
This is probably one of my favorite cards of all time. I think this card's awesome.
Really?
I think this card is so cool in the context of what the other cards in the set and what they got for the rest of the standard.
Sure. And that's obviously what I'm missing here is like, I'm trying to think of like what cards would exist that would like speed this up a bit. And maybe there's a card that says, like, okay, here's a question. If there's a card that's like, I'm trying to think of like what a good example is. If there's like Arcane Missile yourself 3 times, does each trigger make it reduced by 1? Yep. Or is it only considered 1 because it's 1 effect?
No, it would be 3 different ones because they change your health 3 different times. Yep.
Got it. Okay. So that's like interesting because Yu-Gi-Oh, anytime it's like that, it's typically only counted as like 1 instance. So that's an interesting distinction.
It would have to be 3 damage at once rather than 1 at a time. Yeah.
Because it's like if your opponent like here's an example, like with Max C, if your opponent special summons 5 monsters at the same time, you only draw 1 card. You don't draw 5.
Oh, interesting.
Off of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to ask, because like usually Yu-Gi-Oh like combines it into 1 instance of damage. Okay, so that makes this a lot better then, because if there are those types of effects, which maybe there are, or like again, you heal your, I think what is it? Healing Rain, I think you've showed me before, where it's like it heals like 10 or 12, but it's like one at a time. So technically, like, I don't know. I think that's a shaman card. So obviously that wouldn't work. Yeah, but like in theory, right, it could like make this cost 0 instantly if like the planets aligned.
You're cooking,
I'm cooking. I'm cooking, not really, because I'm overcooking because it's the wrong archetypes. But I think this all play. I think this is actually a really cool design. Like my brain is spinning the most with this of like how you can just reduce this. And I don't know the other cards, but I think this card probably had a home for sure.
So I showed you the nerf version. This card
nerfed.
On release was
seems good. This seems good. Nerfed.
This card on release was 8 mana. This card was so fucking stupid. Like it's so I can't go through every nuance of every card that was played with this, but you could get this down really quickly. But then on top of it, I think
was there like a main way? Like what's like the card?
Obviously, life tapping. There's a bunch of cards that like deal damage incrementally every single turn.
Okay.
There's
so I was on the right track. I was on the right track.
I will say that this was played much more for Warlock than it was for Priest. But
that seems right.
There is, hold on. There's this card. This was also released in the exact same set. You can go ahead.
I remember you showed me this card. This card's crazy.
I did show you that card. So Raise Dead's crazy because not only are you getting cards that allow you to discount this even further, if you so happen to get Flesh Giant again from the Raise Dead, well, guess what? It keeps the mana reduction. So even if you kill it, it
that's
comes
cool.
Back. So like, Raise Dead is a card that I don't know how it got past testing. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't know how they let that card slide, but like Flesh Giant at 8 mana was absolutely disgusting. And even at 10 mana, the card was still very much played. Like it was too good. It had
Did they nerf it again?
No, it stayed at 10, but at 10 it was like, I'm gonna call it balanced in quotations. It was still good.
Okay.
It was still good.
Okay. Just an above average card.
I think the stars aligned for this card so much that, and they obviously did it intentionally because they pick what cards come in a set. But this card ended up being just, I want to call it the best giant out of all of them. Like it was.
Okay.
It was.
That's
so
a
good.
statement.
It was. I don't know for sure. Like I would have to. We didn't have stats of how good like Molten was. Molten obviously was really good. I also didn't show you like the one giant that I think you should probably see, but you don't have to review it. I've shown you it before. It's Mountain Giant, which
I've seen this one before.
Like cost one less for each other card in your hand. That card's obviously very
great
good.
Card.
Like an older Hearthstone, awesome. I think Molten Giant, Mountain Giant, and why did I just forget the name I just showed you? Flesh Giants kind of take like the throne of like the 3 best giants. I'm sure someone's gonna bring out, what about this one? Like this one was insane, but like I think Flesh Giant was by far the most interesting, by far the most like cool design to work with.
Yeah, very cool design.
I liked it a lot. But those are the
It's
giants.
also tough too because like Molten Giant and Mountain Giant have been around for so long, where this is like relatively new in the grand scheme of things, right? So I think because of that, you tend to think like the older stuff is like way better than it might actually have been. But it's also contextual to the format. But the Giants are sick. I'm like, this last one is, oh man, like my brain is still going. I'm like, man, there's so many cool things you can do with this. Sick card.
Cool. I don't think I really gave it like justice to how good it really was for the record. Like that card slapped. Like it was so fun to use, and don't get it wrong. Like Priest also used it as well. Like it was good enough to see it in Priest.
It seems more Warlock though, definitely.
For 100%.